Hello viewer, welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Review. My name is Alex Njiri, your host. Today I'm excited to have with me the Member of Parliament for Ndaragwa constituency and the Chairman of the Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee of the National Assembly, Mr. Jeremiah Kioni.
It's a pleasure.
Bwana Kioni, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How are the people of Ndaragwa?
Ndaragwa is okay. There's a little bit of a problem because the rains have not come.
Right.
We would normally have them. But like everything else, that's something we depend on the maker.
Great.
So all that we can do is play harder to ensure that we have the rains.
The last time I went to Ndaragwa, I had to wear very thick gumboots, because the roads were a bit muddy.
Yes.
It was during the rainy season. Has that improved?
We are happy when you are wearing the gumboots because it means that we have something to eat.
Great.
Than when we are wearing the kind of fresh shoes that I have and the stomachs are empty. So I would rather be struggling with bad roads than hunger. Okay. However, the county government has done quite some work. I must commend Governor Kimemia. We had a chat with him because many of the roads that you found Monday are roads that are the county government. Right. The national government has also given us or awarded a contract for about 123 kilometer of tarmacking, not just service dressing. This is really tarmacking. Yeah. Of course, the program will take a little while because you cannot achieve it overnight, but the contractor is on site. And as long as we can see work going on, we will be patient to wait for maybe it may take 2-3 years.
Gives you some hope.
But we certainly, by the end of a second term in Parliament, I can tell you that the constituency called Ndaragwa would have been transformed in a big way.
Fantastic.
Other than the roads, there are quite a number of other projects that have been done that are life-changing. Things like water pans, which helps the drier part of Ndaragwa to now utilize their pieces of land because they can do some watering of the vegetables and the rest. Electrical connectivity is also quite there. We have boreholes that are being done, schools are being improved, colleges are also being put up. We have 3 national status colleges in terms of a teachers training college, the medical training college, and of course now the TVET. So these are institutions that would transform that area. Well. So other than the road, there are many other things that needs to be done.
I mean, if I didn't know any better, I would have said that you're making a pitch for another, for re-election in 2022, yeah?
Oh, well.
But, yeah, great. So, Mheshimiwa, I want us to look at the political highlights last week.
Yes.
And, the process, the BBI Bill, is, has been tabled in both houses, both Senate and National Assembly. And we saw a bit of hullabaloo around the process. There were a lot of calls by sections of lawmakers to open up the document, the BBI Bill, to amendments, and especially with regard to the second schedule, so the distribution of the proposed 70 extra MPs. So what do you make of it? Take us through the process, or what the odds are, both in the Senate and the National Assembly, and what do you think the key issues are? And then also answer the question, does Parliament have any authority to amend, some people call it decimate, a bill that is going through the popular initiative process?
Thank you. Thank you for that. This is a huge moment for this country. Really almost similar to what we had back in 2010. And some of the difficulties that we are going through, and we'll come to them, have a lot to do with the fact that many of those in leadership today, and especially members of Parliament, have not bothered to update themselves as to what did we go through during the 2010.
Correct.
What was the kind of debate that was in place. And one of the things I want to say is that if you remember the late John Michuki, he was a member of Parliament for Kagema, a long-time minister or a member of the cabinet in this country. And one you can trace way back from the 1963 when we were getting back our country from the colonialist. He was one of the very close members or friends of Mwai Kibaki.
Yes.
And he is also one
the
of
old Muthaiga club, yeah?
Yes, and you remember that it took him a long time to accept to support the 2010 constitution. And he had one question.
Yeah.
And he picked me on it, and we had a discussion with him. And he said, I tried my best. Of course, he's not the person, Mzee, you'd convince like that. We talk of Kichagi, and you think you can convince the sources. But his issue was this. There is Article 1(2) that says that the sovereign power belongs to the people.
Rest of the people.
And the people can choose to exercise it directly or through their elected representatives.
Yeah.
And he was saying, how can you have this kind of a provision in the constitution? It's like you are telling Kenyans can wake up one day and say, to hell with the readers, and we want things done in a different way. And he had a point. But the civil society was very hard on us and on PNU, and they had the better part of the process at that time. And in the wisdom of the former president, Mwai Kibaki, he persuaded his good friend to let go. There is a greater good in it than just that one cross.
Right.
Now, we are here, 12th Parliament. That was 10th Parliament. 12th Parliament, the people who pushed for that cross has come to haunt them. What the president and the former prime minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, has done is to use that clause to bring changes into the country. So they went directly to the people,
Yeah.
to Wajiko, and asked Wajiko, we have had these difficulties since time immemorial. What do you think we need to do differently?
Right.
And that brought us all the way to where we have a bill in Parliament. So Wajiko said it, using his sovereign power, and he chose to exercise it directly, not through the elected members of Parliament or the elected members of the Senate. The only role that we have is facilitative. It's actually a conveyor belt. This is what Wajiko is saying. That is one of the things that has not been understood by many members of Parliament, including those you call legal experts. And this is why they now come to Parliament and say, we need to open it up. I know you have a question, but before you ask me the question, let me say this. If you notice what happened in Parliament, we did not discuss the report by the joint committees of Parliament. We discussed the bill. Why? Because this is not an act of Parliament.
Right.
This is an act to amend the Constitution, carrying the wishes not of Parliament or members of Parliament,
the people of Kenya,
but wishes of the people of Kenya. When those are the wishes of the people of Kenya, you as a member of Parliament cannot change them. Ours is to ensure that those wishes are now codified in law. And of course that they sit well with our law and they now get implemented. It is upon now Parliament and the Senate and the courts not to change the wishes of Wajiko, but to try and implement them. If there are other areas of law that needs to be tinkered with, that must be done.
Right.
If you understand it that way, then you will know that all that we are doing in Bunge is airing our views, talking about it, things that may help future generations. But as it is today, Wajiko spoke and has been speaking through the BBI. And there is a whole record of the public participation process that was involved.
Right.
Including getting over 4 million signatures. Having 42 counties say yes to the whole process.
Yeah.
And now the big one that we are going to the referendum, for now the Wajiko to say, yes, this is the way we want the country run going forward. Go run it.
Right. Now, supposing the document was opened, right? I mean, let's speak hypothetically. Supposing it was opened, it would still then have to be subjected to Wanjiku, right?
If you open it and you still want to pretend that you are doing a popular initiative, then you open it and then take it back The whole process must start afresh.
So from a signature,
you must go back to the signatures, because people must have paid their signatures to a process they own.
Okay.
You must go back to the county assembly, because again, the county assembly, the constitution requires them to pass that bill in the manner that they have with it. Then it has to come to parliament. We will do the talk shop, because really all we are doing is talking about it. And you see, I think, let me tell you, there are members of parliament who are really talking and very loud on the floor. Yesterday they were.
You guys are paid to be loud, right?
And
among other things.
And it is because if we are not loud and we are all quiet, things will go wrong. So it is a good thing to speak, only that you now need to be guided by the pieces of registration, order, paper. You need to speak within a context.
Right, yeah.
And this is not what was happening yesterday. Because I am the chairman of CIOC. My mandate is, one, to ensure that the constitution is implemented, but also to bring amendments to the constitution to fill in the gaps.
Right.
But this BBI process, even as the chair of CIOC, I realized that is a process that cannot leave me out. I went to Nyandarua, gave my input to it.
Yeah.
Every opportunity that was given along the way, I went and did that. Some of the members of my colleagues in parliament who are really focused against the document never even took a minute to give their views when it mattered. But again, I'm not faulting them. It is that we need to appreciate, we need to understand these processes, because it will happen again and again, and it will be the same thing. And what Wajiko says can never be unconstitutional. Because he is the maker of the constitution.
Right.
And if he decides to unmake it, you cannot, he has that power. He has that authority. The process is provided for in the constitution. That is the only thing that is crucial. He must follow, or she must follow, the process provided for in the constitution.
So
and that is where
255,
255, 256, 257, and mainly 257,
right.
Because that is where her route, or the route for Wajiko, is provided for. And any other person can then decide to become a promoter. You and I can decide to say, we have this issue, we now want to change the way we are handling our issues in parliament.
Right.
Or the order of priority, or ranking in parliament. You can decide to do anything that and then go back to the Wajiko. Of course, you must make sure that you, step by step, you fulfill what is provided for under that Article 257. And there is a requirement under Article 257 that Parliament needs to enact registration to provide for how that process will be conducted.
Right.
And there are two bills, proposed bills.
In Parliament,
yes, that were overtaken by the BBI process. But what is crucial about that, and I saw this again on the floor, is that we cannot, in Parliament, give power to ourselves to do anything else in that process other than being facilitative.
So your role then, is confined to either accepting it as is or rejecting it.
In fact, our role is confined to being a conveyor belt.
Right. And what happens in either instance?
If you accept it or reject it, it doesn't matter. Once we are done with it, it leaves the floor of the House and goes to IBC.
Okay.
For the IBC to give a date for the referendum. And they must do that within 90 days. The only thing is that in Parliament, there isn't a limit. There is no timelines. We are told to deal with it expeditiously, as quickly as possible. So without, in fact, the word is without delay.
Right.
And I can tell you we have already delayed for 1 month, because that thing came, that bill came to us at the beginning of April.
Beginning of March.
Beginning of March.
Yes.
We've wasted a whole 4 weeks. I am saying wasted because all that was happening was haggling between the members of JILA committee.
Right.
And I don't want again to fault what we did in Parliament, but it was really unnecessary to even have the joint committees, because it will have been. It's good to try and look for harmony, to look for agreements, agreements, negotiate. But this is not a document that you are negotiating to improve on it. It's a document that is a process that we needed to appreciate, to understand what we needed to do, and allow the process to move on quickly.
So there are also some legislative proposals, for example, in the report that are not part of the bill, but which will be probably tabled in the House.
They will be handled by the National Assembly and in conjunction with the Senate. And they are quite a number, maybe about 8 of them. And each one of them has a timeline. This must be done within 2 years. This must be done within 5 months. This must be done. Some of them are already drafted. Those are committees are going through. Not formally, but already informally, so that when the formal process starts, I'm sure we'll be able to move faster.
I think even the tea and the coffee sector reform.
Even that is also part of
the BBI report.
Yes, it's a part of the BBI report because, it's been mentioned before. I have mentioned it myself. There are three aspects of this. There was the 3 aspects of the BBI process. There was the policy reform. There was the issue of policy and administrative reform. There are those that require statutes without even constitutional amendment. There are those that require constitutional amendment, the bill that we have, and then after that, neighboring statutes. So some of the work is already ongoing
or in the pipeline.
Yes.
So then, which also brings me to the question, and perhaps because of where you sit, this would be something you might have thought about. What then? I mean, if Parliament, whatever your call is, whether you vote for the bill or against the bill, we still subject it to the mandate of Wanjiko through a referendum. So why then did we need the parliamentary process? Because from where I sit, every step we've gone through is a step that speaks to validation. So from the minimum 1 million signatures, and I think you guys obtained 4 million.
We got 4 million.
To a minimum of 24, half the counties plus one, so 24 county assemblies passing the draft bill. So all those are validation. So what then is Parliament doing?
Parliament, while it is not validation on the bill itself, it's validation on the procedure, because the Constitution requires that the bill passes through Parliament. It doesn't matter what we do with it, but it passes through Parliament. So that is still, it's validation of the procedure, of the process of processing the popular initiative. If you decide to go directly to referendum without coming through Parliament, then that procedure will be made unconstitutional. So we have to be careful about that, and I think that we have been able to satisfy by having it in Parliament. What we need to make sure, and I'm sure now we are on it, is not to delay it within Parliament. Why? Because after it leaves Parliament, timelines kick in. We have 90 days within which IEBC must give us a date. I hope they will give it to us.
Is that after leaving Parliament or getting the presidential
And presidential assent is not quite a major thing. It can go straight to IEBC, but you can also say immediately. Let me still say the correct thing. Immediately it is with IEBC, whether from Parliament or from the presidential table. It must then be dealt with by IEBC within 90 days. So you will need to count 3 months from that point. So we need to let it go like next week. Then you have 3 months. We must have the referendum by the end of August, by end of August, I believe. Then you have, in the bill, it says that IEBC must create the 70 constituencies 6 months before the date of next elections. So you count backward, and you have August, July, June, May, June. Feb. So you are saying by the end of Feb, IEBC must also have completed their work. So we need to give them some time.
For the delimitation.
Fortunately for IEBC, and this is what needs to be told, fortunately for them is that the BBI is already indicative of how many constituencies do you need in Kiambu? 6. How many are you creating in Nairobi? 12. How many are you creating in Nyandarua? Nil. How many are you creating in Nyeri? Nil. How many in Kenya? Already they are not going to be doing, they are not going to be hopping all over. They will be dealing with about 28 counties. And unlike the 47 before. So this particular time they have been, it's specific within the 4 or 5 months, they are going to those 28 counties. Some of the areas are, they're already cut out. The constituencies are, if you go to Upper in Ruiru, Ruiru is like getting 3 constituencies. So it's not going to be a difficult thing. I know they've been making it look like it is that, but it was going to be, no, it's not rocket science. No. It's been made very easy by Wajiko for them. And again, even the creation of those constituencies, the 70 constituencies, people have been thinking that it's a political thing. And it's not. It is a thing, and the formula, the way to work it out, is the same formula in the constitution that was used by Wajiko, but Wajiko decided to quicken the process. Let me tell you this. When we did this 2010 constitution, one of the very, very contentious issues was the constituencies. Because if you do not have the correct representation in parliament, then you are the weaker. And one of the things that we wanted sorted out 2010 was our presence from the region, Mount Kenya region.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
Yes.
When you're leading, when you say yourselves, what are you leading?
Mount Kenya, because this is it's not. One may think otherwise, but I want to tell you that you must be proud of where you come from, and you must be honest and faithful to the people who elected you.
I'm told, Mheshimiwa, that on the afternoon, where boundaries were being discussed, a lot of your colleagues were not in parliament. A lot of the Mount Kenya...
During the Rigare?
Yes, a lot of the Mount Kenya legislators were not in parliament.
Now,
and there are those people that feel that Mount Kenya got a road deal, so to speak.
We did. We got a road deal from the Rigare report, but that's not where we started. We got a road deal back in 1963. 1963. That is when this problem started. And I don't want us to get derailed in that. But we needed to make good what has been wrong since 1963. Now this is where you needed the two very patriotic people. People who understood and understand where we were and where we are today. And how we can sort out the problems. For as long as I feel, let me tell you, for as long as I feel that I am not adequately represented in the House, how I behave during the electioning period is different from how you behave. I'll be looking at, then, if we don't have adequate number of members of parliament to help us process our requirements, what is this other position that can secure me? The presidency becomes a life and death thing.
Right.
Because he is the one with the authority, the only other person that you can rely on. You can't rely on your presence in parliament, is already weak. And this is why we've been very keen on making sure that the presidency is not a person who can, or the office is not being held by a person who can be, can turn around and make lives very difficult for you. It happened to us 24 years, and I don't think it will be allowed to happen again. So I wanted to say this, that these 70 constituencies were created using the same formula that is in the Constitution. And also realizing that ABC will require a constitutional commission for them to ever create a constituency outside a county. They have power, they have constitutional mandate to create constituencies or to vary boundaries of constituencies within a county, not outside the county.
Right.
So this bill has done two things. It has done the work, Wajiko has done two things. The work that would have been done by a constitutional commission of trying to create constituencies outside a county boundary. They have resolved that issue. It was going to haunt us down the line. For those of us who did the constitution, we know that. So that has been resolved. It was going to be a major problem going forward. Two, the formula in the constitution is actually a self-adjusting formula. Every 10 years, you look at the boundaries, adjust them, get nearer the ideal. That was going to take us until 2062, 2067. I know people have not bothered with this. Right. For us to ever get near equal constituencies. So what Wajiko has done is, he has said, we cannot allow this injustice to continue for that long. I am going to add another 70 constituencies this way. Then the numbers are nearer. IEBC then come back with your mandate. Keep making them get as near equal as possible. So this is still part of what is implementing the constitution. But those who don't understand it will think that there is anything new being done. Only that the thing that has been done is to quicken the process.
Right. There's actually a lot of sentiment. There's a lot of political sentiment that those 70 constituencies are basically, for the purpose of political tokenism. That, Jeremiah has been very good. He's facing a challenge in his constituency in 2022. Wacha tumpatie constituency so that, he's able to come back to parliament. So-and-so has supported the government. They have done well. They have been part of the handshake. Let us give the region 1 or 2. So, the fact that a formula has been used, I think, is also something that's probably not been publicized well enough.
It's not been publicized.
For people to understand. But I would also want us to shift gears a little bit.
Just before you shift, let me throw this statement. If you want to find out how the constituencies were allocated to the counties, take the population of this country as per the 2019 census and divide by the 360 proposed number of constituencies.
Yes.
You'll get a quota, that is the average, per constituency of about 132,000 people per constituency.
Right, yeah.
Take the population in your county, divide by 132, see the number of constituencies you should be having. If you have more than the others, and if you are getting more than you should get, then that is an issue you can raise. But anything else is empty rhetoric. Something people should just dismiss it. We are just treating people. Like, for example, you say that Nyeri was left out. Kioni is too big, required to be some. But when you actually apply the same formula to Nyeri, they actually have the constituents that they should be having. IEBC then will come back to Nyeri County, because that is the mandate they have been given. They will look at the constituents that is small. They will have to just move the boundaries within the counties, and they'll get the average number of people.
For example, I think Kioni has 200 something.
Yes, but how many people are in Udaya?
Maybe what?
How many? 84,000.
84,000, yeah.
How many people are in Mukurweini? A similar number. How many people are in Tetu? So they will need to now play that's why they could not get anything, because even if Kioni deserved to have been split. Equally in Nyandarua, Kinangop is huge.
Yeah.
But we cannot get anything because in Daragwa, we have 90-something. 98,000, or Joroki Kwari a small number, and it goes that way to Kipipili. So we will need to look at those boundaries. And it is being left for people within the county to address this issue themselves, which becomes less of a national problem and more of a county realignment. And
when you get there, because you also have a role to play, you also need to do a lot of civic education. Yes. Because Kenyans, we are very attached to our constitution. For example, where I come from, I come from Mathera, but I'm not too far from Kioni.
Yes.
But if you tried to,
but this other side, you have a very small neighbor.
If you try to tell my mom that she's been moved from Mathera to Kioni, you would have civil war. So there would need to be a lot of civic engagement for people to understand why you're being moved from constituency X to Y, and a lot of the time it will be perhaps even to your benefit, to the benefit of the residents.
But appreciate this, Alex. Appreciate that now the inequality has now been moved. That inequality has now been reduced, because you now see the numbers playing in your county. The resources will still be the adequate. The correct amount of resources will still be coming to your county, as opposed to before, because even if you are not getting an extra constituency like in Kioni, the total amount of money that comes from CDF will be the correct one, because the numbers are correct within the county. People in Mukurweini in Tetu may be getting more than those in Kioni, but at least it is your neighbor, your immediate neighbor. It could be your in-law, because maybe your girl went and got married there. So it is an immediate neighbor. It is not as it were before, where you had some counties, some counties having 3 constituencies, and those 3 constituencies are equal to one constituency in your county, yet it is 3 constituencies that forms a county.
But
that has been sorted out by this.
But Nuesh, let me ask you, what happens then to people who come from areas, especially the arid and semi-arid regions, where you have a very low population density, and your 132,000 people are spread over a very huge tract of land, I mean, how do you take care of them? Because at the end of the day, you're being given your 100 million, then you have 100 million in a very cosmopolitan constituency like Roiro, where people are concentrated in a very small area. Don't you think you're disadvantaging the guys from Isiolo, from Marsabit et al.?
The answer is here. You see, if you come to Mathare, where you have Oruoch as a member of parliament, and he has his people, and perhaps he can even, from one of the tallest building, he can actually see that
can count all of them, yeah?
That is the need there. But they are all here.
Right.
And because of that, he gets 0 mileage allowance. You go to a jail where you have a pocket of 300 people here, and the other one is maybe 100 kilometers away. You get another one. He gets 2 million shillings plus money for mileage.
But you see, that's for the Mheshimiwa.
For him to be
what
able
of the
to
public?
Wait
what of Abdi?
Yes.
Abdi in Wajir.
Yes.
And let's talk Gekonyo in Kiambu. So the money is going to the MP for Wajir, yeah?
No,
okay?
the money is not. No. That is now a question of performance. The money is going to the MP for Wajir to deliver the services because to the people who are far apart. He is being enabled to move from point A to B and those 200 kilometers. Equally, the government vehicles that are sent there are vehicles that should be able to serve those people from far and wide. So, in terms of the amount of money that will go to deliver the services to the people in Wajir, the amount is much higher than the amount of money that will come to Daragwa to deliver the services. What is crucial is that when you have finally gotten to the person, you must deliver the same amount of money. Don't deliver more. Because we are all Kenyans.
Mahesh, I'm not convinced.
I am telling you.
Because that money...
Let me tell you this.
Unless you want to tell me you guys share your mileage money with your constituents.
You will not. You don't need to share, and you should not. But you are sharing with that person because you are being enabled by the government to reach that person. I am being enabled by the government to reach the person who is next to me, so I get no mileage. And I'm telling you, those fellas from Wajir, from Mandera, they get a minimum of 2 million shillings a month in terms of mileage allowance. Come to Mathare, he gets 0. He is in Nairobi, you are using your matatu to get these people. But when you get to the person in Mathare, take 20,000 shillings to that person. When you get to the person in Wajir, take 20,000 shillings. What was happening before is, we were still facilitating the members of parliament with their allowances, 2 million shillings, 3 million shillings in a month. And when he finally gets to that person in Wajir, he delivers 40,000 shillings. The man in Mathare or in Daragwa, I am not facilitated because I don't need to use 2 days to reach them. When I get there, I take 4,000 shillings. That imbalance has been sorted out. This is a principle that is applied worldwide. In Canada, where they also have some very far constituencies, the members of the parliament there are facilitated using their crafts. They are ferried by the choppers to deliver the same quality of services to the people in Canada so that all people there, all the citizens are equal. That's what we want to achieve.
But it's the second biggest country in the world. It's so huge, so that's expected. So Canada is a special case in my opinion. But having said that, moving on, I want us to look at the CJ interviews. I think that happened a couple of weeks back. Interviews for the CJ, and which culminated in the JSC recommending Justice Martha Koome for the position of CJ. And I know the president has now, the president wrote to Parliament through the majority leader.
Yeah.
And he has asked you to, expeditiously dispense with that matter. So the first question is, do you think she was the right candidate? And then secondly, what do you think will happen in Parliament? Do you see her getting enough support, enough momentum from Parliament to confirm her?
One is, I think, because we saw the process. We all witnessed the process. And I'm sure we came up with different preferences. There are those who think Gatia Fred Gadia did very well. There are those who think Kauko did very well. There are those who agree that Mother Kome did very well.
The three were the standout candidates, weren't
they
they?
were certainly the standout candidates. And when that happens, many other factors will then come in. But one of the things that we need to celebrate as a country, another major milestone in our constitution, this is no longer an issue of regional balancing and the rest. All persons who are told apply. And then at the end of it is a question of merit. And when that happens, then you're able to address some of the issues, like, for example, if it's a question of gender, then you can throw it in. But I want to tell you that the candidates that we had brought out the best in this country. I was very happy, at least with all of them. Of course, the three that we have mentioned were exceptional. And eventually, we have Mother Kome. I personally think that we got a very good candidate for that office. But there is something else that we need to celebrate, other than the fact that merit played a role there. This is a lady. She's worked through. She's struggled through.
Yeah.
And it tells me that this issue of affirmative action, we now have to, the ladies who have, and especially politicians who have seems to want to rely on it, I think their numbers and their days are numbered. Because she has gotten to the highest office, not because she is being nominated, but she's worked for it. She has beaten men along the way. And that is what we want every other Kenyan to do. So this is a great achievement for us as a country, a great achievement for the gender, the women gender, and it's a good demonstration to our young children that you can be anything in this country for as long as you remain focused on your cause. I celebrate that appointment from that angle. The other thing is that you will see the way she has carried herself all through to where we are. It's very difficult for you to fault her. She's fought her way, she's fought her battles, but with a clarity of mind and, focus. And she's not fought them as a woman. She has fought them as a Kenyan, something that many other ladies needs to emulate. And it reminds me of, I think I saw it in the social media. The problem with the social media is at times you're not quite certain that it is not something that has been created.
It's not fake news.
It's not fake something. But whoever did it, if it's not genuine, is a correct thing. The thing was being said by a young girl, I think either in the early 20s or a teenage. And she was complaining, why are you telling me to work hard to be like Alex? I have better abilities than Alex. So women have even better abilities than men. They should not be working to be like men or to beat men. They should be working to bring the best gifts that they have been given by God. And the sky is the limit. It's not the men. Men don't form the limit. The sky is the limit. And this affirmative action seems to have brought out the long ideas and this is why we are having problem with this two-third gender rule in Parliament, but I thank God that we've been able to sort it out through the BBI. But there's when the name comes in Parliament, you can almost tell in Parliament, when you walk in the corridors and you are careful to listen, you can tell when somebody is headed for trouble, or when though things sometimes change very quickly, they can actually change on the floor, depending on what.
They can be very fluid in Parliament, yeah?
One has to be very careful with how, and especially if you're in the leadership of Bunge, what you say, you have to really be very careful. But you can tell that Mother Kome will have it easy.
Right.
You can hear acceptance from across
the board,
And why? Because the process of picking was also very transparent.
Yeah.
And you can also see, like you have said, those were three candidates. If you ask Kenyans, if any of the three had been picked, you say, okay, I would have preferred this one, lakini hata huyo. That is very important. That's an achievement for this constitution.
I want us to go to 2013, Mheshimiwa. And I I was watching during the funeral of, the late Hannah Mudavadi,
yes.
mother to your friend Musalia.
Yes.
And you got a bit of a frosty reception, I remember.
Yes.
And I think Mudavadi had to come and prevail upon the mourners to let you have a speech. There has always been a misconception that in 2013, when you were Mudavadi's running mate. And a lot of people will say you went against the grain, in fact, in Mount Kenya, because Mount Kenya was then solidly behind TNA and Uhuru Kenyatta. And there are allegations that in your polling station, Mudavadi did not get a single vote. So then, it's then assumed that you did not even vote for your presidential candidate. And of course, the assumption is that you voted for Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So let's start with, whom did you vote for in 2013? And are those allegations true?
I think the thing is to start a little further. One is that I was very happy to have been at Mururu and to attend that burial.
Right.
Because though it was totally unplanned, it presented me an opportunity to confront people who are who like feeding on lies.
Right.
But I also sympathize with the population there because they seems to have been left 2013 and never moved on. It wasn't Musalia who prevailed on them. It is the dignity in truth, because you cannot intimidate me.
Right.
When I'm dealing with an issue, and I have always aspired, I wanted to do it from that kind of a platform. You can't intimidate me. And I was told by Kibaki that when you get to a public platform to speak, you can't heckle me off the platform. I'll help you to heckle on until, in any case, I'm the mic. I have the mic, you have only your mouth. So I help you to continue heckling until you get tired.
Right.
But let me tell you, this is a very serious. It's actually a very serious issue, because other than the point where it was taken as entertainment by media, and they created a piece of entertainment that was very juicy, it speaks volumes of even where we are as a country.
Right.
Because this was an attempt to show a Kikuyu how deceitful a Kikuyu is.
Correct.
That you can do all that you did and then eventually not vote for Musalia. So while as it may look like it is me, it's actually Kikuyus who are on the shopping board.
That's true. Yeah, I've seen
and I tell you, I was happy to have become the sacrificial ram. What the media did, when they realized that I was not, you couldn't break my conviction that we are going to go with Musalia. It does not matter whether the whole of the Kikuyu community is with Uhuru. I made a statement I was going to live with it. They still tried to break it, to break me further. And what happened was this. They created a polling station called Durumo.
Durumo Primary.
And Durumo Primary is in Laikipia.
Okay.
Durumo Primary is not
In Nyandarua.
Is not a polling station, even in Laikipia. Forget about Nyandarua. Yeah. It's not even a polling station in Laikipia. So I actually voted in, my polling station is Kanyagia. It was covered live.
Right.
Live TV.
Kanyagia.
Yes. When I was voting. And we voted with my mother and with my daughter. But it was also reported collectively in the print media. In the polling station of Kanyagia, we had votes, myself and Musalia. Yeah. In the fake polling station of Durumo, of course there were no votes, because it doesn't even exist in the first place.
Right.
So it was a very clear thing, and we went to court. I sued everybody who said that. I was paid money. I can tell you. Maybe I bought this jacket.
Are you about to sue me?
I know. The way why I like this one is that this debate is that it helps us even understand our problems more. Yes. And I like it when it is in this kind of a format.
Right.
When you ask it in a manner that you want to demean me, because of your preconceived, then I can choose to again add you in the list of the defendants, and some little money will still come my way. And I
can assure you, if you sue me, there will be no money coming your way.
Well, I certainly don't want to feed you in the courts because of having been unable to pay the things that is given to me. But it feeds into the difficulties that we have today. The issue of, growing mistrust. Growing mistrust among communities, such that we are not able to move on as a country.
In fact, yes, because I was actually coming right to that.
Yes.
And I want you to answer these in the context that you had in mind as well, in terms of the handshake.
Yes.
And we have seen what has happened over the last 2 or 3 weeks. The word you spoke about, mistrust.
Yes.
And I know there is a growing number of people,
Yes.
influential people, legislators mostly, on Baba's side, who feel that the handshake is founded on quicksand. Okay, a lot of them are predicting that the handshake will collapse, for example. So I think you saw the photos that were shared a few weeks back, where Oparanya met with the deputy president.
Yes.
And now there's even talk of breaking the political marriage between the president and the former PM.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about, because it speaks to the mistrust and the lack of trust. And you spoke about, whatever happened to you, the propaganda against you, in the context of Mount Kenya, DCT, yeah? And I've actually seen it bandied around in many forums when you talk about
even
Mount Kenya and all
even
that.
the 70 constituencies.
A lot of people say, but even Jeremiah Kioni did not vote for his own presidential candidate as a running mate. So can you please tackle that as we wind up?
And I can tell you that the maturity and when we know what the issues were is very nice, because I was able to tell Uhuru, I didn't vote for you. He's my friend. I told him that. But I am certain there is no ill feeling, because we know these are the issues that are ailing us as a community, and they started in 1963.
Right.
And that's why I want to move quickly to where we are. There are those who want to now to say that you can't trust your partner, Uhuru. Later, you can't trust your partner. These people are the same old ones. I said this on the floor of Parliament yesterday, and I know many people will miss it. If we had a better level of trust in this country, we would have taken the issue of devolution on board much earlier. But because it was being brought to the floor by Raila, and he was calling it Majimbo, what was sold to us as Kikuyus in Mount Kenya, he wants to cut the country, and it's like he's subdividing the country. That fear was sold to us, and he doesn't like you, he hates you, he's going to do this and that and that. It has made it very difficult for us to agree on issues for the benefit of the whole. The handshake was purely about that. You and I, Uhuru and Raila, are the people who are, the symbols of the most distrusting, if there is such a question, such a statement. People who don't trust one another, where the heaviest level of mistrust exists. What would happen if we come together? Kill the mistrust, because those who support Raila would then be saying, but he has moved. Those who support Uhuru would also be saying that he has moved.
Yes, but
This is the greatest thing that these two individuals. It was done by Kibaki, but we were not able to cultivate around it. Raila still remained a captive of his side. Kibaki remained a captive of his side. This time round, Uhuru has decided not to be a captive of his backyard. Raila has also decided not to be a captive of his backyard. They have decided to use their patriotism for this country to help us move together. And that is why you will see that people will be saying many things in Raila's camp and will be caught to order. As it is now, it's actually Raila who is pushing on with that handshake. And of course, he has followers who must follow. On our side, it has taken Uhuru quite some beating. Even today, the heavy dislike that exists in Mount Kenya has a lot to do with his having decided we must heal this country. Not because of the two of us, but for the better of this country. Handshake, the future of handshake, of course, now is secured to some extent by the BBI. That's why, in my mind, the most important thing that we need to do, forget about who becomes the president next day, is to get this process done. And I am hoping that the judiciary will come on board. Right. We don't want them to drag or to derail us with the cases that are before them. We do not want IEBC to play games with this thing. We want this delivered because it secures the handshake and reduces the level of mistrust Eventually, when we now get to understand why this aspect and that aspect was put in the Constitution, and it always happens after, not during the debate, people will actually see how much these two gentlemen have contributed to the well-being of this country. It will then be easy for us to look around and say, truth be told, Alex, you want us to form a government. These are the constituencies. These are the counties.
Right.
These are the resources that needs to go to the constituencies. How many votes do you have? Bring them on the table. This is the discussion that happens when you're looking for a presidential candidate. Let me now tell you. Even when we were doing it 2013, how many votes are here? Do you want us to win or you want us to gabble and lose? Wekele yako, kura hapa.
Right.
Wacha niwekele yangu hapa. Na wewe leta yako. Can this pact win? That is going to be made very easy now with BBI. Yes, we can win when we come into this kind of a pact. And it does not matter what kind of a pact wins, because the resources we now have formulas of sharing them out.
And the resources have come to the ground.
And the resources are now coming to the ground.
Come to the ground.
So this is one of the greatest, it's actually another achievement similar to what was achieved in 1963.
Mahesh.
And remember also, 1963, it was the Kikuyu and the Luos.
Right, yes. In Kanu.
These are things you can't wish away, the realities of this country. And there are communities that will always want to associate themselves with this side and that side. Now it's being made easier for even the communities to become an identity by themselves and say, I'm also going to this table with my small thing that I have.
In winding up,
yes,
no. There are a lot of people that say that the current Constitution of Kenya 2010, has not been fully implemented. So it does not make sense bringing about constitutional changes when you're not finished fully implementing the 2010 Constitution. Is that true?
Part of implementing the Constitution is amending the areas that requires to be amended. We want to implement the two-thirds gender rule. There was no other way of implementing the two-thirds gender rule other than through an amendment to the Constitution.
Right.
So when you understand what is implementing the Constitution, that question will be listed. This BBI help us implement the Constitution.
Is there any
further.
other?
Let me later the other one. The other one was that the Constitution, the principles in the Constitution is the issue of universal suffrage, the equality of the vote.
Yes.
The 70 constituencies try to bring out that principle because you are equalizing the vote.
Right.
The other aspect is distribution of resources and getting equal distribution of resources. BBI addresses the same aspect. And all the 73 articles in the amending act are dealing with the implementation of the Constitution. Nothing new. In the judiciary, we are saying we must have access to justice. Access to justice includes my being able to say, I think judges so and so has not dealt it right. It is not that the ombudsman office is going to discipline judges. A complete misconception. Just like the one that was brought to be told that Majibo is going to kill the country. And we were fearful, so we never did what we should have done more than 20 years ago. And you can imagine if we had devolved resources 20 years ago, where this country would be. But it is an office that allows you as Alex, say, how is it that I lost my file in these corridors of justice? You would walk into that office as Alex without looking for a date in the courts and say, I have been waiting for my case for the last X number of months. What is happening? The office will take it up and you get justice in the process. I was asked money by X magistrate. You say, you go to that person. He will investigate whether what you are saying is true or not true. He will not discipline. He will then take the matter to the JSC. So the JSC was created by the Constitution to ensure that the judiciary delivers services to the people, among other things. But that office was not created. That gap was left. So in creating the office, we are implementing the Constitution so that the work of the JSC becomes complete and they are able to deliver on their mandate also. So all that we are doing through BBI is implementing the Constitution. And I expect another BBI too BBI 3. It is something that must be done in the life. Those who are not happy with what we are saying in BBI, again, have an opportunity also to come and even amend what we have in the BBI. Right. But again, they must get the mandate.
The Constitution is always speaking.
It is a dynamic document.
Right.
And this one of ours is a negotiated document. A joy for this country.
A joy for this country.
You can't do it alone. You need me. I need you for us to make good here.
Okay.
There would not have been a better way of having a document for this country, given the diverse in our culture, in our ethnic groupings, in our religion. We are 42 of us with different beliefs, different value systems.
Yeah.
So for us to be able to move together, we must continue negotiating. And that is why when a similar process is introduced, please take time. Take your views there.
Right.
Let your views have space.
The validation workshops, the consultation
all
workshops.
Those things. And I tell you, because I have a list of what happened at every stage. The public participation that was done by BBI, I tell you, is unequaled. It's beyond.
Speaking of public, Mheshimiwa, I want you to face my camera.
Yes.
And I want you to talk to the Kenyan public and tell them what are the 2 or 3 compelling things that you, 2 or 3 things that you find so compelling in the BBI that you find very, useful to Kenyans from all across.
One is that if we had not given ourselves the BBI, the Amendment Bill, there are 27 constituencies across 27 counties that are going to disappear from the map of Kenya. BBI gives life to those 27 counties. 2 is that when we created a governance system that had the executive far away from parliament, the delivery of services to Wajiko became much difficult and it was taking much longer. We now have the cabinet within parliament. Ministers will be picked from parliament. When I have an issue in Daragwa, the people of Daragwa can rest assured at the next sitting of parliament, I will be sitting with the minister, I will raise their concern. The delivery of services is made faster and the responsiveness of the executive is faster when you have members of parliament in the executive. Crucially also, we are able to do better better oversight to ensure that the executive is more accountable than it is today. We are able to put the ministers on the spot on issues we think he has done wrongly when Kenyans are watching, as it was before. In the current system, they do things, we are left to only complain after it has happened. So those are very crucial things that are there. And also, when you have a person who has competed to become a president, and he's gotten like 6-7 million votes, and he has been left out of parliament, he is left to speak to Kenyans from across the road during burial ceremonies, and at the best maybe a wedding, which are not quite common these days. It is a disservice to this country. The BBI provides space for them in parliament. The leader of opposition will be the person who has the second highest number of votes in the country, meaning that which he wanted done, if he had won the presidency, he still can get them done by being in parliament and causing or negotiating with the executive for the good of the country. Many more things, but crucially those ones.
Mhesh, thank you very much for your time.
Yes,
I know you're a busy guy, so spending your 50 minutes or so with us has been an honor for us. When you go back to Ndaragwa, please pass our regards.
Yes, and we want you, as you continue doing this, to also continue campaigning. We need more money. We need to improve our roads. They are not very good. But I also want to commend you for what you are doing. This is how a country grows.
Thank you.
Without information, we cannot grow.
Thank you.
You are helping us to ensure that the people who sell fear don't continue doing that. It has been so to us for the 50 years we have been alive. We don't want that thing done to our children.
Brilliant.
Facts on the table.
2022, what are you?
Member of Parliament, hopefully a minister.
Prime Minister, maybe?
If that comes also, the position of Prime Minister has also a lot of balancing.
Yes.
It is going to be a lot of balancing, but we are up to the task.
You're
If given that
ready
role,
to serve, yeah?
oh yes, we will do it easily.
Fantastic, Mahesh.
Asante, sir.
It's been an honor. Thank you very much for coming.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a very deep and lengthy conversation with Daragwa MP, Mr. Jeremiah Kioni, who also serves as the chairman of the Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee of the National Assembly. Asante sana. See you next week. Same place, same time. My name is Alex Njiri, signing out. Thank you.